So now we move over. So I think Yashodananda Prabhu said our next speaker is in Vancouver, but he might be in Toronto. I don't know. Maybe Toronto, Vancouver, same country, just different cities. So our next,
a few thousand miles.
Yeah, that's all right. It's same city, same country. It's like going from London to Scotland, isn't it?
It's about 3,000 kilometers away.
Oh. It's a flight then.
Oh yeah.
So are you in Vancouver, Prabhuji, or are you in Vancouver? Yeah. Okay.
Yes, I'm in Vancouver. Yeah.
Right.
I'm just 1:15 here in the afternoon.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, I'm just going to quickly introduce you, and then I will let you offer your Pushpanjali. So Sriman Lakshamana Prabhu joined ISKCON in 1999 in Toronto, Canada. That's why I thought Toronto. And joined the Venice Temple in LA, California in 2006, where he met Gurudeva and received Harinam and Diksha together. He has lived in devotee communities in Toronto, LA, Hawaii, and the last 4 years going back and forth between Australia and Vancouver. He's a musician, and and that's how he met the devotees in the first place. And he's also been a pujari in the Murilam, I can't even say the word.
Murwillumbah.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, Gurudeva Temple, as well as Badra. So without further ado, and my awful introduction of you, Lakshamana Prabhu, I would like to introduce you, Sriman Lakshamana Prabhu, to come and offer his Pushpanjali. Hare Krishna, and please forgive me for giving you such an awful introduction.
No, that was fine, Yashoda. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for that. I joined in 1997, and through music, I met a young devotee whose father was the Toronto president for many years, and he ran the temple. So that's how I got connected there. But for my experience with Srila Gurudeva is like, I was so afraid of Gurudeva. Well, first of all, I want to say how much of an opportunity and grateful I am to be able to speak with all my God brothers and sisters. I have no idea what I had done or how it's possible that I've come into this association. And I think that's kind of the focus that I'd like to share here, is how merciful Gurudeva is. And hopefully you guys can get something out of my sharing here. So for me, I spent a number of years in and out of ISKCON temple, doing my best to try and achieve some emancipation. And I was really, really searching for answers to life and the meaning of life and stuff like that. So obviously then I came into Krishna consciousness. But it was a number of years later, after I had split up with a girlfriend, and I was, what am I doing with myself? And I was by myself in my apartment, and I picked up the Nectar of Devotion, and I started reading it again, plowing through it, and Srila Rupa Gosvami saying over and over again how important it is to have a spiritual master, how important you can't get Krishna praying without a spiritual master, you can't achieve the result. So I was really, really desiring it. And for the third time, I'm like, okay, that's it. I'm moving into the temple. I'm shaving my head. I'm going to take Diksha, or I'm going to take initiation from a spiritual master, and I'm just going to go for it. So I moved back into the temple for the third time, and I was aspiring for initiation from the sannyasi who was at the temple at the time. I was fortunate enough to have a Gurudev disciple come, whose name is Krishna Priya Devi from Vancouver. Many of you might know her. She's tall, blonde, and very strong in her faith with Gurudev. She's been with him since she's young. Anyway, she was at the temple at the time, and she told me about Gurudev, and she gave me a Jive Dharma. And of course, in ISKCON during the late 90s, Srila Narayana Maharaj they didn't understand what was, the leadership had problems, right? So I was hiding the book under my pillow and trying to be really secretive about it all and stuff. And she told me his pranam mantra. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Radhikaye Priyatmane Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Iti Namine. And I memorized that shloka in 2005, and I started chanting it, and I accepted Gurudev in my heart 100% as much as possible at my level at the time. This is who I wanted to be my spiritual master. But because of the connection with ISKCON and the confusion and trying to get explanations from some of the senior management, it just was confusing. I was asking, well, how is it that I have to take initiation through ISKCON if I want to love Krishna? What does it matter? And there was all these problems, and it just didn't make any sense to me. So I was really, really digging in. I really felt like I connected with the Srila Prabhupada Murti. I would sit down and chant in front of Srila Prabhupada all the time. That was like my space. That was like my go-to place. And I had a dream while I was in the temple of like daydreams, like they were daydreams, and they would return of Srila Prabhupada handing me over to another branch on the same Chaitanya tree. And that for me was like, this is okay. It doesn't matter what any of these ISKCON gurus say or any of these leaders say. Prabhupada himself is telling me in his own way, or like, I'm not trying to make myself seem like anybody special, but this was my experience, that it's okay to go over to take shelter of Srila Narayana Maharaj. And so I held on to that. And at the time, I mean, I was still like, I come from a meat-eating family. I mean, I have pictures of myself at 5 years old in a cloud of smoke, like with a pack of cigarettes on my lap at 5 years old, you know. So I grew up in an environment there was a lot of intoxication, and for me to be able to come to this place is like unbelievable. To continue on with what Akalesh was kind of mentioning, how the internal aspect, and Yashodananda Prabhu had also reiterated the internal thing. For me, when I decided to not make a show of my seva, like I'm very energetic person. I got Mars in the 10th. I'm just like all action. So and I'm prideful about, I have a nature of being prideful for the achievements that I can do with my body and what I can do and my skills and all this stuff. So I'm a bit prideful, and for some reason I want others to see that, right, and my own fault. But on this particular day, it was my seva to wash Krishna's plates after the offering. So I would get them, I would go in, run into Radha's temple and wait for the pujari to come and wash the dishes and clean Radharani's kitchen, because in ISKCON, Radharani's kitchen is separate from the main big cut-up kitchen and all that stuff. So I felt really special. And on this particular day, and I was having these daydreams, and I was really, really aspiring, and I was chanting Srila Gurudev's mantra, and I decided to close the door of Radharani's of her kitchen, close the door, and nobody can see what I'm doing. Nobody else but Krishna, nobody else but Radharani, nobody else but Srila Prabhupada and Gurudev. And so that time I felt like I really did it for Krishna only, and it wasn't for any other selfish motive. And it was like within a few days after that, there was a couple who was staying at the temple. They were from South America, and their names were Raghava and Bhadra. I've never seen them ever again. I don't know how, they were just there, but their faith in Gurudev was astounding. Like, I remember Raghava standing up in the Govinda's restaurant after hearing somebody say something negative about Gurudev. This man stood up and he chastised this person so severely and so with so much firm faith that I was like, oh wow, this is. And him and his wife gave me their last $15 so that I could leave the temple, because I was having problems with the leadership there, and seek out Srila Narayana Maharaj and go and take shelter from him. And so I got some of their mercy. I really wish, if anybody of you know Raghava and Bhadra from South America somewhere, he's an amazing musician, guitar player. I don't know if you ever come across who they are, please let them know how grateful Lakshamana is. They'll know who I am. And so it was that internal connection that I feel was really the flame, the spark that really, really somehow gave me the maybe connection with Gurudev that this person might be a little bit sincere. And it took me another entire year before I actually went to see Gurudev. And I asked for Diksha and he gave it. And I don't understand how or why, because I really wasn't, I'm not very consistent, not very in my practices. And so I feel extremely fortunate. And just here's one little pastime. When I first saw Gurudev, I was so enthusiastic to be close to him, and I didn't understand the etiquette. So when Gurudev sat down on the Vyasasana, I ran up and sat down right there, right where all the sannyasis were supposed to sit. And I was trying to find a seat, and somebody came up and had a big bouquet of flowers, and they pointed at me and said, "Give to Gurudev." So I reached over and I gave to Gurudev, and he looked at me like, "What are you doing?" And then he looked, and then he, with one shoe of his hand, like it was like gigantic. He just went like this. He said, "To the deities," like this. And I literally fell back into the laps of the senior devotees that were sitting there. And I literally fell on them, and it was really embarrassing. But then I ran over to the altar and gave to the pujari, and then I found my seat. So Gurudev's disciples and his senior disciples like Akhilesh Prabhu, Charu Chandrika, Yashodananda, all these wonderful devotees I see, Madhuvrat Das. These are like, for me, you guys are senior devotees. I fell into your lap. Gurudev has pushed me into your lap. So if I could please get your guidance in the future, I'd be most grateful. And that's pretty much what I have to share. I hope you get something out of that. And if I could get your blessings and mercy to continue my chanting. Radhe Radhe. Thank you.
Lakshman Prabhu, that was so short and sweet, but I felt like I want to hear more from you. It's just so beautiful. Actually, I think it was last week or the week before, we were just saying how Gurudev's every little thing that he did meant so much, something so more deep in his messaging, and the way he spoke or the way he did something. It had so much gravity to it, and it just seems like whatever Srila Gurudev has impressed in you has given you so much gravity, and it's very, very beautiful. And there was one thing that you spoke about when you used to sit in front of Srila Prabhupada's murti, which I saw any murti that you sit in front of Srila Prabhupada, especially the ones where he established the mandir there as well, the temple there. They're just so potent, and it's like Srila Prabhupada's listening to us. And there's many years I've spent in Soho Temple in London, sitting in front of Srila Prabhupada, until someone told me that Srila Prabhupada himself established his own deities. And I was like, that makes sense. That Srila Prabhupada is there. He established his own murtis, meaning that he's completely listening to me, and that's why he answers all of my questions. And it's just so beautiful that he passed you over to Srila Gurudev without any hesitation, and that just shows the oneness in them, that there actually is no difference in them. They're so one, and it's just really, really beautiful. And you spoke about seva and not having no pride in doing seva. Actually, it's really hard to do that, because when you're doing seva, it's like you sometimes your mind goes, oh yeah, you've done so well. And it's like, fool, you're such a, like, I talk to myself all the time, and I'm like, you're such a fool. Like you have no control over anything that you're doing. It's Gurudev's doing it. And when you have that realization, and you look back on the seva that you did, and you realize, how did I achieve that? And then you go, oh, that's because it wasn't me, and it was Srila Gurudev. And it's so and it's so beautiful, and you're so honest about it. And Gurudev liked honesty. He loved honesty, didn't he? He loved people being honest. And I remember there was one disciple who came, there was two disciples, and someone asked, it was a bit of a nonsense, but someone asked him, why do you keep this disciple around you? And Gurudev said that he's honest, and that's all I want. He's honest. At least we know what he's honest about. So many others are pretending, but he's honest. That's why I keep him around. So I just want to say that. Yashoda and the Prabhu, did you want to
Yeah, I
add
just
anything?
felt you summarized and appreciated Prabhu's Pushpanjali really nicely. So there's no point in repeating. But what I felt from you, Prabhu, was a real heartfelt desire to engage in seva. So I just wanted to say that we got, because of Gurudev's 100th appearance year, there's a lot of projects that are sprouting up. So that Mars in the 10th house energy, I understand what that means. I know a little bit about astrology, not a whole lot, but enough to know what that means. Maybe we need to engage, maybe we need to facilitate some of that Mars in 10th house in some seva. So let's follow it up with a phone call.
Sounds good.
Would that be good?
Oh yeah.
And by the way, you come from one of my favorite cities in the world. Beautiful place.
Oh yeah, it is amazing.
I said before in this program, I've never met a nasty person from Vancouver.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.